Africa, one of the planet's most biodiverse ecosystems. It's as delicate as it is beautiful. With exploding human populations putting excessive pressure on all wildlife, conservation has never been more important. Thankfully, professional and unconventional heroes are emerging in the fight to save Africa's wilds. When people and animals collide, things are never simple. In this wildlife-human conflict, I'm often called in to seek out the truth, to find out what's really happening on the front lines, and identify the heroes who are making a difference. My name is Ivan Carter, hunter, conservationist, and wildlife investigator. Over 1 million individual lions once prowled across Africa, but as competing predators, lions have clashed with humans over both territory and prey. And as a result, their populations have dwindled to a mere 32,000 remaining. I'm in Zimbabwe, traveling through the Bubi Valley Conservancy, where a very different story is playing out. Thanks to the innovative use of a 280-mile-long fence line to separate the humans and the lions, the Conservancy is home to the fastest-growing lion population in all of Africa. Today, I'm joining one of the main contributors to this research-driven success, Dr. Byron du Preez, to witness some of the work that goes into protecting these iconic predators. Byron has been studying lions in the Bubi Valley Conservancy for over 5 years, spending almost as much time in the bush as the lions themselves. We're tracking the GPS collar signal of one of the Conservancy's most famous cats, and are preparing to tranquilize him for a routine checkup.
Okay, I think he's on the move. Let's see, he shouldn't go far.
Sure enough, we find the lazy lion lounging nearby.
We've just seen him. Byron's gonna try and get a shot with a dart gun.
Byron prepares a dart and takes aim. A perfect shot. But this is a tough old lion, and he's not quite ready for a nap.
So the dart is in, it's been in for about 2 minutes. He's still pretty aware.
Finally, the drug takes hold,
He's just got down. Yeah.
and we can begin our work. This is Wilbur, one of Bubi Valley Conservancy's most popular lions.
He's such a distinctive lion because he's blind in one eye. So
No way.
he was first collared on a lion project in Botswana.
GPS collars like the one we're replacing today are essential tools to better track, manage and protect the species.
They actually decollared him because their study ended and he was no longer needed. And not long thereafter, he actually got kicked out of the area by, the incumbent males.
Male lions are highly territorial and will compete for control of land and fertile females. Once a lion grows old or his supporting males die off, it's common for them to be driven away by stronger or younger lions.
Ended up south of Bubi for a while, killing cattle in the communal lands. One day, we got a report he broke in through our fence.
And how long ago was that?
That was about 2.5 years ago now. He did all of that
With one eye?
with one eye.
How old do you think he is, Byron?
We know that he's over 10 years old based on the records from the project that had him collared originally.
At over 10 years old, Wilbur has arguably been studied more than any other male lion in Africa.
Having said that, his teeth are actually in very good nick for an animal his age, and obviously he's of very good genetic stock, having been through what he's been through.
So has he bred since he been here?
Yeah.
So some of those great genetics are here too. Breaking into this property, Byron, might have been the thing that saved this guy's life. Eh?
Absolutely, Alan.
What a great story.
As Byron administers the reversal drug, I enjoy a final moment with this amazing lion. Wilbur serves as proof of how important a single animal's life is, not just for one, but for two populations of his species.
I'm starting to understand why indeed this is one of the last hopes for the African lion. When you can see a population of over 500 lions peacefully existing and proliferating on a property like this, it makes me realize that conservancies modeled after this are truly a great hope for the African lion.
By our very natures, humans and lions will always remain competitors. But through the work of conservationists like Byron and innovative properties like the Booby Valley Conservancy, we can eliminate the inevitability of conflict. Leaving Byron to his work, my next stop is in Ethiopia, where I've heard tell of a group of conservationists challenging the relationship between humans and another ravenous predator, a family known only as the hyena men. After learning about the conservation efforts being used to protect lions in Zimbabwe, I've traveled to Ethiopia in search of a local family who's helping to protect one of Africa's most misunderstood predators. Harar is an ancient walled city in eastern Ethiopia, a sleepy rural town full of incredible sights, sounds, and smells. It's also home to a group of unconventional conservationists, renowned across Africa as the hyena men. With no other name to go by, I defer to the local elders in the hopes of tracking them down.
Assalamu alaikum.
Look at these old guys. These guys are as old as the hills. He tells me beyond the city walls lies a house behind an ancient tree, where I'll find the family of the hyena men.
Thank you very much.
I thank him and continue my search.
We told in this direction.
I follow a maze of 15th century streets and enjoy the weathered beauty of Harar.
There's parts of this that really feels like a 15th century town.
Finally, just outside the ancient city walls, I spot what must be the ancient tree. I speak with the locals to see if I'm on the right track.
How are you? Well, I'm told this is the house where this hyena family actually live.
And sitting in front of his quiet home, the hyena man himself awaits. He introduces himself.
So we finally found Yusuf. Yusuf, eh?
Yusuf.
How are you? He's one of the famous hyena men, and he apparently learnt this from his father. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
He treats me to some traditional Ethiopian hospitality and tells me his story.
In the old days, he says his grandfather and his great-grandfather used to hate hyenas, just like everybody else around Africa.
Hyenas have historically been portrayed as dastardly creatures in local folklore due to their iconic cackling voices and sinister appearance. Striped hyenas are smaller, warier scavengers compared to their larger spotted hyena cousins, who tend to kill over 60% of what they eat. Mistakenly thought of as cowardly creatures, hyenas are infamously ravenous and well known for driving larger predators like lions off of a kill, which can cause problems when they start looking to livestock for a meal.
One day, one of his ancestors was feeding their dogs meat from the local butchery, and he noticed some young hyenas coming and feeding on that. They perceived that by feeding those young hyenas, if they were to keep them full and be friends with them, maybe the hyenas were not going to eat their goats and their cattle, and the conflict would disappear. So this whole tradition has started because of conflict.
And so, with patience and dedication, a bond was formed between these humans and hyenas that would span generations of both species. And the legend of the hyena men was born.
Today, the hyenas are not at all dangerous to humans. They come in the city at night, people accept them, and so he believes that by his feeding the hyenas, he's not only taught the hyenas to not fear humans, but he's taught the humans to not fear hyenas.
It's a beautiful example of harmony with the species, rather than the regulation of it. Now Yusuf is passing that legacy on to his son, Abbas.
Yes, Abbas. 7:30 tonight, and his son will take us out and show us how to feed the hyenas. And even his grandchildren are going to be there as well, also learning how to feed the hyenas. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, we see you tonight. Okay.
But as the day fades to night over Harar, I'm very aware that I've never been face to face with a wild hyena before.
See a fire up ahead.
Abbas and his son have begun burning animal fat, an old technique used to attract the hyenas.
What Abbas does every day is he goes to the butcheries and he goes and he gets all of the leftover offal and bits and pieces of meat to come and feed his hyenas every night.
It's a reminder of the greater community's support and that nothing goes to waste in Africa.
He says I must just keep my distance to start off with. He's going out there to call the first hyenas in. We'll see what happens here. Calling out to them by name.
Whether these wild animals respond is another story.
So we've just got to keep quiet until the first few come here. And at that point, once he's fed a few, then they'll all come. That's what he said.
As time passes, the darkness seems to grow thicker. Abbas's patience is impressive, as are his nerves.
Well, so far, no hyenas. They're around and we can hear them whooping every now and again and growling, but nothing coming in to feed yet.
They're close, but Abbas tells me that the hyenas seem to be more hesitant than usual. I'm not sure who's more wary, myself or the hyenas. Like a choir of the night, the cackling grows. I'm Ivan Carter. I'm on the outskirts of the city of Harar in Ethiopia with Abbas, a fifth-generation conservationist, attempting to feed wild hyenas, and they've just emerged from the darkness.
Well, we just saw our first eyes in the bush, and when we shone the light on there were 4 or 5 hyenas. Listen to them, listen to them. They're giggling behind me. There's a hyena calling over there. Here comes the first one. See that hyena? This is so cool. This is exactly what we were hoping to see. Look at this relationship here. Look at this. Just look at this relationship. It's unbelievable.
Skirting the line between elation and hesitation, I approach.
So what is the name of this one? This one, an Alto. Pretty intimidating, huge animal. He's just quietly and carefully getting the right piece of meat for this guy. Check at that. It's unbelievable. So this is the first one that's coming. This is a perfectly wild hyena. And for the last 80 years, this guy has learned from his father, who learned from his grandfather, what this is all about. And to think that this was all initially to try and eliminate the conflict between hyenas and humans in this area.
It's an incredible display of empathy from Abbas and his family for a species historically killed off at the first sign of conflict.
Whatever that is, he doesn't want it.
It turns out even a hyena can be a picky eater.
Doesn't want that piece either. This is one well-fed hyena.
But Abbas has one more surprise for me. He instructs me to remain perfectly still.
I don't know what this is all about. Let's just see. Oh my goodness, check that. That's incredible. That's amazing.
Okay.
Man, that's unbelievable. Quite a heavy animal, actually.
Alto, Tararto, Arakamar, Ipsa, Ipsitu, Hot.
Here comes everybody out of the bush.
Thanks to Alto's fearlessness, the rest of his family finally comes out to join us.
Sitting here in the middle of Ethiopia, surrounded by hyenas. This is a very cool experience. Smelly experience, but a cool one.
Conservation takes many forms, and this is one of the most unconventional examples I've ever experienced. But the effects of the hyena men's work are distinct and profound. By providing for these hyenas, the predators have ceased hunting livestock. The community no longer see them as a threat to be removed, and all live in a harmony seldom seen around Africa, or the world at large.
Okay. It's good, eh?
Okay.
Very nice. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Inspired by the work of the hyena men in urban Ethiopia, I'm curious how things have changed in the remote parts of the country.
Just need to know more about these people, more about their relationship with their wildlife. The Ethiopian people have got a very rich and very beautiful culture. There's a lot of incredible tribes, and what Abbas suggests is that we go down to the Omo River. So I guess that's going to be our next stop.
I'm traveling across Africa, exploring unconventional conservation efforts and the heroes behind them. After feeding hyenas in Ethiopia, I've traveled into her borderlands in search of her renowned tribes. So we're just getting into Kara country now, which is right in the middle of the Omo Valley. It's well off the asphalt road. It's incredibly beautiful. But every hour that goes by, we just seem to get drier and more dusty. Incredible environment to try and scratch out a living. The Omo Valley is home to dozens of rural tribes, rich with culture and history. One piece of that history, as with most tribes of the world, is a reverence of the mighty predators that cohabit these wilds. Often killed as proof of a man's strength, their pelts are traditionally used in ceremony and celebration. Well, definitely hubbub of human voices. I can hear some singing. And you know, the main reason for coming and finding this particular village is that I heard that they've got a ceremony going on today, and the goal of this is to see if this ceremony includes any wildlife products, any animal skins or anything like that. Some little dude here full of white paint. He wants nothing to do with this giant white apparition. Let's go and see what he's all about. Local populations of cheetahs, leopards, and lions are in sharp decline. So I'm curious how these people have adapted their lives and rituals to modern times. A lot of people in this village, very traditional structures. I'm sure this is going to be a location where we find some kind of wild animal products. Well, here's somebody definitely approaching. How are you? You speak English?
Yes.
Really? Oh, very good. What's your name?
My name is Taye.
Taye.
Yeah.
It's okay if we come and look and see what's happening here.
Yeah.
I've stumbled into a mating ceremony. Much like a community dance or a prom, it's full of joy and celebration. And everyone's dressed their best, mainly wearing animal hides. What kind of skins are the ladies wearing?
Skin from goats and sheep.
Okay. And what about wild animals?
They don't use wild animals. Just use goats and sheep.
As the human population has grown and expanded its territory, before long there were too many people and not enough prey to eat. In response, livestock such as goats, cows, and sheep have become the foundation of these tribes. Did they use animal skins for dancing long back when there was lots of animals?
Yeah, they use that one.
So why they stopped that?
Because they don't get them easily.
Few.
Yeah, few. They are few. But goats and sheep, they are like more. Many.
What wild game wasn't killed off was pushed outside the reach of villages like this, until the majority of large animals ended up in protected parks and reserves. now the source of security for the majority of wild African species. In former times, they used a lot more wild animal skins. But today, they only use goat and sheep skins. It's an indictment of what has happened to African wildlife over the last century. But Kara village seems to be adapting well, clearly a thriving, youthful community. I think she definitely fancies me. A woman come and they choose a man that they want to dance, and my guide has been chosen unknown. Yeah, here we go. I guess I got the prettiest girl. Good, eh? There we go. It's a mixed blessing to see tribes like this adapting to life without wild animals while keeping their culture strong. Though born of necessity, Kara village's decision to shift towards domesticated livestock will hopefully allow, with time, what wildlife remain in the Omo Valley to stabilize and possibly recover. But not all African tribes have been so willing to let go of the past. And in South Africa, one man is attempting to change the way that thousands of indigenous people think about animal skins. I've been traveling across Africa, finding unsung heroes of wildlife conservation. After learning how tribes in Ethiopia have reacted to declining local wildlife populations, I've journeyed back to South Africa to meet an ingenious entrepreneur battling to save one of Africa's most iconic species. Tristan.
Ivan, how are you, man?
Hey, thank you so much for making time for me. I really appreciate it. Tristan Dickerson is a South African biologist currently in charge of Panthera's Furs for Life, the world's largest leopard conservation operation. Leopards are one of the 5 big cat species native to Africa. Renowned hunters, they can run at over 30 miles an hour, and their powerful jaws allow them to easily carry a kill weighing over 200 pounds into a tree to be consumed without disturbance. But for generations, their strength and hunting prowess have made them targets for honor-seeking men who hunt them for their iconic patterned skins. And in South Africa, no community reveres the leopard more than the Zulu people. Over 5 million Zulus are part of the Shembe Church, and once a year, tens of thousands of them attend a traditional ceremony, many of them wearing a leopard pelt. With their populations ever growing, the demand for leopard skins has been devastating for the species. For years, Tristan has been doing everything he can to educate people about the vulnerability of leopards. Now he hopes to solve the traditional indigenous issue using a needle and thread.
And I bet you this is the only set of scissors in the whole world that's covered with leopard skin.
It's got leopard skin handles for comfort. Let's have a look in here.
So these are rolls of leopard skin.
It may look like the real thing, but these skins are artificial, made entirely from fabric and clever design.
This is how we get it from the factories.
And how long is this roll of fabric?
We order 2 kilometers at a time
2 kilometers at a time.
of leopard skin. Yeah.
If you get 2 kilometers of leopard skin, how many garments can you make from that?
2 kilometers of leopard skin, we're looking at about 5,000 garments.
So with 2 kilometers of leopard skin print, you can save 5,000 cats.
Exactly.
Tristan takes me into his workshop to show me the results of his work.
So this is a garment that the Shembe would use just like this, correct?
Exactly. Here we've got a tail and the 2 back legs hanging over the shoulders. This is what the Shembes would wear.
How much does it cost you to put these together, Tristan?
You're looking at about $20. 250 Rand, where the real thing is 5,000 Rand. And that's where the difference is. It has to be affordable to the masses.
An ingeniously simple solution.
How many skins do you think were getting used in that church? How many leopards were having to die on a regular basis for those ceremonies to carry on?
We've estimated about 18,000 leopard furs.
18,000?
Yeah.
By the end of 2015, Furs for Life had distributed over 10,000 fabric furs, thus saving thousands of leopards. and interest has only grown since then.
We've got elders of the church wearing the skin proudly in front of all the other followers.
Wow.
This is about conserving the future. We're conserving a species whilst conserving a religion, conserving culture.
Fantastic. Congratulations on what you guys are doing. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I leave Tristan inspired by the innovative work that he and Panthera are doing on their Furs for Life project and the success that they've had in preserving the African leopard. But my work is far from over as I return to Zimbabwe to help 2 black rhinoceros recover from a harrowing past. My name is Ivan Carter. While meeting innovative heroes of wildlife conservation in Africa, I found my way back to the Bubi Valley Conservancy in Zimbabwe, where 2 young rhinos are about to take a big step towards recovery. Overall, the number of large wild animals in Africa has dropped by more than half in recent decades, and few species have suffered more than the rhinoceros. Poached for their horns to be sold into a billion-dollar Asian market, rhino populations have declined as much as 90% since 1970. On the front lines of this war to save the rhinos is Blondie Leatham. A former Zimbabwe Parks and Wildlife Ranger, Blondie is now in charge of the Bubi Valley Conservancy. One of the main focuses of the property is wildlife rehabilitation. Today, Blondie is releasing 2 orphan black rhinos with incredibly sad stories.
Blondie, this is a big day for you, eh?
It is. It's over 2 years that the larger of the animals has been with us. He arrived a week to 10 days old in a bad way. His mother had been poached 2 days beforehand. So he'd had no sort of nurturing and no care. He'd been running around in the wild for 2 days. And we've had him over 2 years, and now he's being returned to the wild.
Chap Masterson, the wildlife vet overseeing today's operation, tells me the second rhino's tale.
His mother had been shot through the eye, lost the sight in both her eyes. And he was born in the Boma under quite grotty circumstances, raining, and he just had a rough life from the very start.
Black rhinos like these are smaller but far more aggressive than their white rhino cousins. While this can allow them to scare off poachers before an encounter becomes fatal, they are often left injured in the process, like the mother of this little one.
So it's great now to see him thriving, see him so healthy. He's got a mate.
Thankfully, heroes like Blondie and his team at the Bubi Valley Conservancy are quick to respond to animals in need.
These 2 rhino, their meaning is so much greater. They represent the success of a rehabilitation program. It's a day where these rhino that came in with hardly a glimmer of hope in their eye, victims of poaching, will go back into the wild. And these are going to be the nucleus of the next generation of rhinos on this property. There goes.
Today, Chap and Blondie are returning the young rhinos to the wilds, transporting them from the rehabilitation center onto protected land to begin life anew. But before releasing them, Chap will need to tranquilize the rhinos to prepare them for the move.
It's a very necessary stress to get them to the next step of their lives, which is going into this 40,000-acre property. It takes a lot to protect that size of property.
It takes a lot to protect, but it gives them the space to give them the chance to really breed and compete with what it takes from poaching, you know?
For 2 years, Blondie and his crew have been nursing and caring for these 2. But nothing makes him happier than returning them safe and healthy to where they belong.
You know, it's a bittersweet moment, isn't it?
That's wonderful. Really wonderful. And when they walk off together, that's when you really feel the lift.
With the rhinos sedated, the team gets to work, quickly taking blood samples and documenting their measurements. The rehabilitation staff gather to watch the momentous occasion as the animals they've dedicated their lives to are guided into their transport crates.
And that's the first rhino in the first crate.
It's about an hour's drive to their new home, a central part of the conservancy with thick bush and abundance of water. The perfect environment for these rhinos.
There's been 2 years of work to get to this point. Today they're getting released as sub-adults with a huge amount of hope. We're just about to swing the doors open and give them their first look at this new, very safe property.
After 2 years of devoted attention and care, the big moment has arrived.
Here we go. This rhino's getting their first glimpse at the outside world. Both doors are open. There we go, first step. Turning around to look at us. He's looking for his buddy.
This is the first time he's ever been in a wild. He had at least a week, 10 days in the wild initially. This is the first time this fella in his life, because he's born in the Boma to that blind rhino.
Think of the trauma these little guys had. Their first interactions with humans were just unbelievably traumatic. And yet today, in a calm and controlled environment, they're getting re-released back into the wild.
But the rhinos are in no hurry to leave these men, who have been the closest thing they've had to parents.
Come on, you're gonna have to chase these rhinos away.
With tens of thousands of acres at their doorstep, the rhinos have decided to call a 10-foot patch home.
Oh no.
It's gone to sleep.
Does he lay down there? Well, these rhinos have spent the last 2 years in an enclosed area, and it just seems that they took one look at the bush out here and went, no ways, we're going to stay next to the crate. But they've also never walked in the wild before. I think it's pretty intimidating out there for these little guys.
But eventually, as all children learn, taking that scary first step is just part of growing up. And together they venture out into the brave new world.
Just they got each other.
Yeah.
That's a big thing.
Thanks to the tireless efforts of Blondie and the Booby Valley Conservancy, 2 more black rhinos have been given a second chance at a long and peaceful life. With luck, they will breed and help rebuild their once mighty species. Back in South Africa, another property is attempting to rejuvenate a different species, and an old friend of mine is about to delve into uncharted territories. I've been traveling across Africa, learning about the professional and unconventional conservation practices being implemented to preserve its vulnerable wildlife. I've arrived at Phinda Private Game Reserve to help out an old friend. Wildlife veterinarian Mike Toft has saved countless lives of animals over a long career. But today he's preparing for a highly uncommon procedure, giving an elephant an ultrasound. Elephants once dominated the African landscape with their enormous size and tight family dynamics. But with the demand for their ivory tusks at an all-time high, rampant poaching has decimated their populations from 5 million down to an astounding 700,000 in the last century. Which is why monitoring potential pregnancies is all the more important. And thanks to diligent operations like the one Mike is tasked with today, the elephant population is actually growing in South Africa.
One thing we don't do is a lot of elephant ultrasound, obviously.
Today, we're tracking a matriarch elephant recently seen mating. The goal will be tranquilizing her and performing the ultrasound, but confirming the pregnancy might get a little messy.
To get the ultrasound, and we've got to evacuate the rectum, basically, and that's going to be a bit of a mission. Then what we'll do is insert the probe just into the intrapelvic area. If it's possible, we're going to get a picture of and have a look-see.
But there's a complication. The matriarch in question has a calf, so we'll have to separate them for the operation, and then work quickly to reunite them as soon as possible for the sake of the young elephant. To further complicate matters, we'll be replacing the elephant's tracking collar at the same time. so there'll be a lot to be done in a very short window.
Darting and collaring an elephant is quite a big exercise. Elephants move around in herds. So we've got a team of the anti-poaching unit. What they're going to be doing is once the elephant cowers down, making sure that the rest of the herd doesn't come in while we're changing out the collar. We've got a collar right here. As you can see, this is a significant piece of equipment. This is actually the transmitter piece on the top. A lot goes into this, a lot more than meets the eye.
With everyone ready, we load up and head out.
Here we go, all of this planning, all of this preparation, and we're off into the first step.
As the chopper searches for our elephant from the air, we'll be following on the ground.
There's a lot of moving past this. I've got a truckload here of all of the anti-poaching people. We're going pretty quickly. These helicopters, when they go line of sight, they can cover ground a lot faster than we can in the cruiser.
Following the tracking signal from our elephant's collar, Mike is hot on her trail. The air team spots her. Luckily, she's not with her herd. But as expected, her offspring is staying close beside her. Mike takes aim from the chopper, but the elephants are quick to react and use the thick forest as cover. Mike cannot get a clear shot.
Carter's War would like to thank the following people and organizations. Without their help, this program would not be possible.
I'm on Phinda Private Game Reserve in South Africa, where wildlife vet Mike Toft is attempting to tranquilize a matriarch elephant and perform an ultrasound. We tracked her down, but she's taken cover in the thick forest with her calf. Mike can't get a clean shot with his dart gun, so the chopper pilot attempts to drive them into a clearing. Mike sees an opening and makes the shot. Frightened, the young elephant runs away. Once Mike is on the ground, the chopper will keep a close eye on it while we perform the operation. The sedative takes hold, then the 6,000-pound animal goes down.
Just like with the rhino, one of the effects of the drugs is to dilute the pupil. And so the first thing we're doing is just flopping the ear forward to keep that eye in the shade.
With the mother secure, we go to work, quickly replacing her GPS collar.
You can hear her breathing nice and calmly.
Elephants can't breathe through their mouths, so the trunk must be kept open. But before Mike and his team can perform the ultrasound, we must clear any obstructions remaining in the rectum. Never afraid of a messy job, I step up. Donning a glove and lubricating it as best I can, I get in position and dive in.
It's hot in there, isn't it, eh?
Sure. Nothing in there.
Definitely better job with a glove rather than not.
Just to be safe, Mike double-checks my work.
Oh, what a pleasure. We don't have to empty anything. It's 100%.
With the way clear, we can proceed with the ultrasound. Mike and his team prepare the probe and move it into position.
The probe is actually working very nicely.
The gestation period for an elephant is almost 2 years, so if the pregnancy is far enough along, we should see it here. The verdict?
Well done. I think you've done superbly. I actually don't think she is by the look of things. There is obviously just a slight possibility, so we'll draw a blood sample and we'll then double check that and see what we've got. Okay, well done. That's fantastic, man.
After a job well done, the team looks on as this beautiful mother rises. Soon she will be reunited with her calf and the rest of her herd. As long as we support heroes like these, Africa is in great hands.